Well, hello everybody. It's Cheryl. Welcome back to Heirloom Afternoon. It is Tuesday, and that means it is time, my friends, for Heirloom Afternoon. If you can hear me, please give me a thumbs up or a comment. And can you hear me? I'm wondering if I have new microphone. I have a new setup going on. It's been a very strange couple of days. If you can hear me, give me a note just so I can hear. Oh, I see thumbs up. So hopefully that means you can hear me. It has been a wild 24 hours plus, and it's been a great, fantastic week. I hope you had a wonderful week. Today, hello, Francie's here. Francie's from Miami. How are you, Francie? How are you? It's going to be a fantastic day. I have a lot to share with you. Today, some good friends of mine sent me a little goodie bag, and I thought this was really, really sweet. I get people all the time asking me, um, I have this. Is there something do you want it? And I'm like, yeah, of course I'll take it. Hello, Laura. Here she is from Indiana. What part of Indiana are you from, Laura? Because I was just in Indiana. I wonder if you were one of the folks I saw at the Indianapolis Quilt Guild show. My friend Suki, you may know her as Suki Sews. She sent me a little note here that says, "So glad you found these. They have a good home." Apparently, these are doilies from her family, someone in her family, and she asked me, would I want them? And I was like, sure. But I just have to share with you just how sweet and lovely these little doilies are. Aren't they beautiful? But this one just captured my heart. They are little pansies. Let's bring these up on the other camera. We got a lot to talk about today. Um, and if you're out there and you can hear me, say hello. Oh, you were! Yay! Yay! I also went to Shipshewana earlier this year, so I'm seeing lots of my Indiana folks. Um, so here is this doily is just too precious. Look at these little um petunias or yeah, I guess you would call them petunias, right? I just think they're really sweet. Look at these. Look at this one. Look, look. It's huge. So, my friends, if you have any goodies that you do not want any longer, make sure you pass it on to someone who will love it. And so somebody did make these that was in her family, and she thought I would love them, and she was right. You're seeing our a little bit different stuff going on in the show today. We even have some new things, some new titles, new all kinds of new stuff. But real quick, let's talk about the double wedding ring quilt that is on behind me. Now, I will be talking about this double wedding ring in more depth uh probably in the next, probably not next video, probably the video after. This whole month of November, we're going to be talking about vintage textiles, and these came to me as a suggestion from Marsha, who is Feed Dogs and Fabric, and her wonderful suggestion to me about how to care for your vintage linens, how to like actually wash a vintage linen. Um, And so that is the focus of today's thing, right? And because you may be like me in a quilt shop, in a vintage shop, and you see a vintage quilt and you want to rescue it, but it's really for you, it's probably dirty, or it needs some care, some TLC. And you're probably thinking, like, I don't even know the first thing about laundering that. And, our first inclination is to, of course, take care of them how we would take care of a modern quilt. And while that does work, it's not 100% every time. So we're gonna talk about that, and we're gonna talk about the information that I've learned along the way, because some of this is really fascinating. So we're gonna first talk about the resource that I'm using. And so far, I have to say it's working pretty well. I'm looking down here because there is a bucket of water um down here on the floor with some vintage stuff in it. So really quickly, then, back to this quilt. We're going to talk about this quilt in the next over this next month. And the reason that this quilt is important, at least it is to me. First of all, it's a double wedding ring and it's a scrap quilt. And I love a good double wedding ring and I love a good scrap quilt. However, and I'm going to just back up so that the camera brings it into focus a little bit. There are places here, like right here, that this particular quilt is completely shredding. And it's only one particular fabric in the quilt that is just disintegrating. And obviously, when you go to take care of this quilt that you may have rescued, this quilt block that you may have rescued, you may be interested in, like, well, what happens? What do I do if something like that happens? So, this quilt's a really good example of that. It's also super cute. There are two of them in my collection. They're exactly the same. I won't say exactly the same because they're scrappy, but they were made by the same person at the exact same time. There are two of them. They are probably twin size. And they were given to me by a fellow Quilt Guild member who, these were made by her grandmother. And her grandmother, she did not want them, and no one in her family wanted them. So she asked me, would I like them? Sure, yes, of course. And these used to be on the back of my sofa, and I would snuggle up with them all the time. So all the things in my collection, I try to use. I'm a big believer in actually using the vintage textiles in your collection. So my friend Suki, who sent me Sue O'Very Pruitt. She is sent me these lovely crocheted doilies that were made by someone in her family, and you bet I'm going to use them. I just love the little pansies or petunias on those. I just love them. Okay, so let's talk about what exactly we are looking at. Okay, so I'm going to bring over the camera here. And like I said, you're going to see some changes. We've got some stuff going on, some um, new kind of stuff. Now, don't forget, we still have advent calendars in our shop. They are in stock, so they will ship out right now as soon as you order them. So if you are interested in one of those advent calendars we talked about last week, you can head on over to shop.muffin.com and grab one. Okay, so let's talk about uh, a vintage textile. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I talked about these blocks and how excited I was because, and trust me, I paid. It was a donation, but I paid way too much for that. Like, more than I normally pay for blocks like this. So Needless to say, when I got them though, and this is not the camera, it is also just the amount of dirt. You can see the dirt on this particular block. And there's lots of them in this collection, and they're really filthy. So they're super dingy. They've got this like overcast of brownness to them. You can see that some of them even have some staining, but I can tell you also there is some serious starching and or sizing that these have been sprayed with in order to get this like crispy effect here. And so I have decided there's even like there's like schmutz in there. Okay, so these are not in great condition in that. Oh, Jerry's here. Hi, Jerry. Um, so I you can see also here's another spot like that is a stain right there. Okay, so these are pretty bad. And these were the blocks that I showed the other day. If you flip them over, you can kind of see, even more of the staining of what I'm talking about. So, again, we're trying to um really get a better and these are all hand pieced, so you kind of are starting to think like, well, now what do I do with these? You can probably imagine that this was a much brighter color. See this stain here, you can even see it when you unfold the this texture here. Beautiful blocks. I'm very excited about them. Okay, so now how do we clean them? Okay, so I am using a particular quilt designer's information, and this is Rhonda Dort, and Rhonda is amazing. She makes vintage or quilts out of vintage linens. A lot of times she will take these vintage quilts like this one here that's absolutely filthy, and she will take them and she will clean them and try to get them back to the way they should have looked. So she's got a whole list of things here, but mostly what she is known for is to take doilies, um, dresser scarves, all those vintage linens that we absolutely love. And she takes them and she repurposes them into quilts. And she has many, many groups of people online and in her various groups and things. And she does a lot with vintage linen. So I felt like she's got this guide. Jerry, I agree with you. It's beautiful. And we're going to talk about how she takes care of these. And she goes along with, various things. Here's another piece that you can see she's piecing together with an old embroidered dresser scarf. So she talks a lot about the science, sort of like the science behind dinge and stain removal. And this is an important thing to know before you start dunking all your stuff into some water. Okay. So she tells you how to sort your things. And then she talks about the particular types of stains and how they get clean. And what we're going to be doing is using the one that she is showing here with the one on the left, the automatic dishwasher powder. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. Now she talks about why automatic dish powder, automatic dish powder. So this is the stuff that you remember in that comes in like powdered in a box. Okay, this is the same stuff. and we're going to talk about this. So what is it? What's in this? Sodium sulfate, sodium carbonate, sodium silicate, sodium percarbonate, and then a bunch of like dispersing agents, binding agents, and such. Okay, so what is that? Why do we need that? These materials, this carbonate, okay, this is especially here, sodium carbonate, and I double checked. This is on the package. It is known as washing soda or soda ash. So this is something that's been around for a long, long time that our foremothers did use. It is very effective for removing stains. So again, this is where I'm like, okay, sodium carbonate. Now they do tell you, she does tell you that you have to be careful if you have any kind of black embroidery or dark colored embroidery. You want to wash those one at a time and separately. And you don't want the black embroidery lines to touch other parts of the quilt or the garment or whatever you're washing, because the threads can bleed and you don't want that on the other parts of your stuff. Okay, I hope you're with me so far. Okay, so we're getting there. All right, so now what she is telling us is to and she does explain all that, but here you can see her soaking a whole quilt, and then she does throw it in the wash cycle of the washing machine, and there you go. Okay, there's also some information that she talks about in here about Dawn dish soap. And I have used Dawn dish soap before on my quilts. And the Dawn dish soap specifically is for anything that is going to run. So let's go back and take a look at these fabrics again, because if any of these colors are going to migrate, it's going to be the darker colors. Sometimes pink has a tendency to run. These darker colors, boy, they look so dingy. Ugh, they're so terribly stained. And I mean, I'm okay with that, right? But I know that they could look better, right? This just has that yellowy cast over it. You can just tell. And I did look. If you open up some of these, you can just see the color it should be. So this is how I'm feeling. I took 2 blocks and 2 of the 30, and I am experimenting on those. Okay, so that's what we're going to do. Now, what do I need? This is where we're going to talk about what I'm using. Okay, so this is just a dish pan from the dollar store. I went to the Dollar Tree, as a matter of fact. So this Dollar Tree, I think it was like it's a dish pan. It's white. She recommends using a white one because you want to be able to see the item and you want to be able to see the dirt. So we're going to do that. Then what are we using? We're using automatic dish powder. So this is it's like Cascade, my friends. It's the stuff that just comes in a big old tub with this fun little spout on the end. It's on the bottom shelf at Walmart. It was $4. And what she tells you to do as far as your linens, okay, she tells you this is her soak method is half a cup of this to every 3 gallons of warm to hot tap water. Okay, 3 gallons. Now, this tub, okay, is not 3 gallons big. If it was 3 gallons in here, it would be up to the top and or overflowing. So I only put 1.5 gallons in here, and I also only put in like 2 to 3 tablespoons of the dish powder. Okay, and it was hot water, and I put it in there, and I mixed it up. And I just did this here in the building, right? I don't even have like a full on uh you know uh thing in here, right? And then I took my stained quilt. This is how you can see how dirty they are, right? And I took the quilt block and I put it in there, okay? And then I put in a second one. I put both in the same water. Are you ready to see this? I did this. I did this at 9 o'clock this morning, okay? And it's 12:20 right now. So this has been soaking for a couple of hours now. And every once in a while I would reach in and I would like stir it up, just to gently agitate it. Now, I will tell you another thing. Do not put your hands without gloves in this stuff if you do not know if you are allergic to it or it will bother you. I do not do what I'm about to do because I put my hands in it already and it doesn't bother me. But don't do it if you know it's going to bother you. That's just my warning on this. Okay, are you ready? All right, let me get this bucket off the floor. All right, be careful because I have a lot of equipment in here and I don't want to spill it. Now, if you thought these were dirty, wait till you see. All right, let's get this party started here. You're gonna see all my lights reflecting. Yeah. It's filthy. Filthy, filthy, filthy. Okay. And you're just like, what is happening? And I can already see it has not yet been any mad number of hours. She recommends starting at 24 hours, but these are already. This was clear water, even with the dishwashing powder. The dishwashing powder is white. It is already just incredibly cleaner. Okay. It's just already a better situation. Now, these two, like I said, have been sitting in this water for about 3.5 hours. The water is now cold. It's not hot anymore. But I am feeling pretty good about where these are going. Now, you're probably like, oh, Cheryl, you put raw blocks in that water. And yeah, I did. You can see also there's like bubbles. I've been using this pencil also. She says to use a spatula to help you get the bubbles out. See, there's like bubbles in there. See that bubble? You want that bubble to come out. You don't want that bubble to stay under there. So what I'm not doing, as you can see here, I am not like really agitating this water. Partially because I do have raw edges on these blocks. The other thing I'm not doing is like dumping this water and putting cleaner water in and kind of keep going and keep going. I will be doing that later. I'm not doing that yet. But I am just a little bit sort of agitating the water, not the block. Okay. I don't want to agitate the block because what I don't want is this frayed edges to fray even more. Okay, that's what I don't want. I don't want like completely frayed edges that I cannot use the block afterwards because it completely shredded up. So what do I do here, right? So after this, she says, and she clearly recommends that you keep your linens submerged, okay? And then she says she believes 24 hours is a good starting point. Okay. So if you position your stained pieces so that you have a visual on the bad areas, you'll know um, when they've been in there long enough. Then you can take um, the pieces out and you can then re-submerge them into more water, more of this stuff, or you can decide that that's as clean as they're gonna get. Like that's as far as you're willing to go. Okay. And we have to think too, like, we are buying something that has probably these fabrics, these blocks. Well, we were talking about them a few weeks ago, right? We're talking about these have been in a storage, they have been in passed from one quilter to another. Somebody at some point did press these, iron these with what feels like really heavy starch. And as you know, any of those kinds of starches that go into your material, they can attract um, like the little creatures, the little things, the little bugs that like to eat this stuff. And so we don't want to um, to do that. We want that to be washed out. Now, the other thing you can see is here, like on the surface of the water, you can see all kinds of floaty grossness. So there's definitely stuff coming off or out of these blocks um, that are absolutely making these better. Okay, now they do recommend trying to keep the water hot if you can. That's probably not something that you're going to be able to do. It certainly can't do that here where I am. She also does not recommend doing uh, anything that like in your bathtub. And I was like, I wonder why. Because like my bathtub would be a perfect way to get a lot of things washed at once. And the reason is because as we are all getting older, leaning over and plucking things that are wet and heavy out of your bathtub sounds horrible. So I'm going to agree with her on that one. But how will I take care of this now? Okay. So what I will do is I will pour this out, put clean water in, and let it soak until, probably a couple of hours. Pour that water out, put clean water in, pour that water out, put clean water in. And the reason I want to do that is because I want to get as much of this sodium carbonate, percarbonate, all this stuff, okay? There are enzymes in the automatic dish powder, okay? It even says it right on the package, right? It says like contains enzymes. Okay, so the enzymes are what's doing the work on the natural stains. And the sodium percarbonate is the stuff that's doing the work on the other stuff. Now, sodium carbonate, okay, is again that soda ash. When you think of Any of you who have done any kind of hand dyeing, you know that hand dyeing requires the fabric to be cleaned with soda ash. And that washing soda, that soda ash, is what was used to basically scour these these fabrics back in the day. Now, there is a product, and let's just talk about it because I'm not talking about it yet because I haven't tried it. I'm interested in trying it, but I'm gonna try this method first. Okay. This method is by a product called Retro Clean. Okay, so Retro Clean, you can get it pretty much any of the quilt shops will carry it. And it contains one product, sodium perborate. Okay, one ingredient in this in Retro Clean, and that's it. So, what do you know? When sodium perborate is added to water, the molecules form hydrogen peroxide. So that's why Retro Clean works so well on linens. And so I've ordered some. It's coming. We're going to try that. And I'm very interested to see how that comes out in one of these. But I have to tell you, like, right away, when I put these into this water, like, this happened. Now you're probably thinking, like, oh my gosh, is that the yellow that's migrating? Is that there's a pink block under here? Is the pink migrating? Is this some of the blue that we're seeing? Like, what is that? Like, are these colors migrating? And I don't think that in these blocks that they are. Okay, now I just want to show you, because there's one of these blocks has a twin, and it's the reason I picked it. So let me find it really quickly. I'm so sorry, I should have had that ready to go. Where are you? Magical block. Here we go. Okay. It's also filthy. I should have cleaned this one first. Okay. So this block, okay, and this block are the same. They're the same fabric and everything, okay? But let's just pick this up out of the water so that you can see. Oops. Just grab it with my little finger. Okay. And already, if you just put it here on the edge where it's cleaner, I mean, it's already whiter. It's already cleaner. And so I am very excited about that. And so we're going to just keep these in here for a little while longer. And then I'm going to clean it up. Woo, yay. All right, Dahlia's here. Hello. All right, so this is again the block that I'm going to use to compare the cleaning to. As you can see, it's also filthy, and it's so crispy. I don't know if something spilled on it. But a lot of them are like this. They have either this staining or something on here. It's not great. Okay, so we're definitely using. Also, you can see just from being folded over. And I've also had people do this a lot, where you'll flip over the seam and look inside the seam allowance just to see, like, maybe what the original colors were. Because sometimes the fabric inside the seam allowance is cleaner. Okay. So sometimes that's a way you can see just how Even just that there, that white is just a little bit whiter than the actual thing. Okay. So this is what I'm talking about here is just we know that this is pretty dirty. So, all right. So we have these. We got to submerge them. We want them to be in the water. Get down in there. We want that bubble to come out. There it goes. And these are going to go back down on the floor. So I don't spill anything. I don't want to spill this all over myself. I got my little towel here. Okay, so when you are working with blocks like this, though, you don't want to, you don't want to put this into your quilt with all these stains on it and then, find out that it's going to launder in a different way or something. So getting them at least washed a little bit, and we're going to lay them flat to dry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bucket, I'm going to dump the bucket out, I'm going to put clean water in, I'm going to dump that out, put clean water in, dump that out. Probably do it like 3 or 4 times, and then I will lay the block flat to dry, and that will give me an opportunity to kind of fluff up any of these textured blocks. It will give me a chance to block it so that it's flat and straight. And then I will probably let them dry that way and see how they go. Okay. But wow, look at how filthy that is. I should have cleaned that one instead of the other one. Okay, so that's a really important thing, is to make sure that we get all of those chemicals out of the fabric before we start doing anything with them. Okay, so this is also really good for any of the things that you're doing with with crochet. Okay, because one of the things you have to remember about crochet, as we're making crochet, right, we're doing all of this with our hands over and over again, and we're transferring all of our hand oil to the fabric. Same thing with the embroidery. It took me a second, right? So as you embroider, right, you're putting your hands on the fabric and you're doing this over and over again. That is transferring all those oils from your hands and transferring that to the fabric. Lotion, you touch your face, then you touch your work. You're transferring, makeup and all kinds of things to your work. And I know many of you will snack, you'll drink something, like I'm going to drink this coffee. And you'll get something and you'll then continue working, not thinking anything of it. So, they look pristine, but then they don't stay pristine, and that's because our oils are in there breaking down over time and they're staining this material. Now, like I said, this topic today was recommended by Marsha. She is Feed Dogs and Fabric, and she asked me, like, how do I launder something like these blocks? And I thought this was a great topic to come here and talk to you about, because again, I just bought all these blocks and they are completely filthy. Now, if you follow me on Instagram, okay, over on Instagram, I have a video from our shopping trip that we did yesterday. So I didn't buy anything. I just went shopping, didn't actually buy anything. And while I was shopping, I came across some really, really cool things. But I had come across lots of vintage quilts like this one. And They are in really bad shape. They are usually really heavily stained. And I often they're really inexpensive. I think one of the quilts I just got in my collection was $10. Another one was 15. Um so in these antique stores, you're able to find these quilts and vintage linens and all sorts of things at a discount because they're pretty heavily stained. Now, some uh shop vendors, some shop owners will try to launder some of these things so that they're in good condition when you buy them. But some of them don't know what they're doing. So I usually just leave it to be washed on my end no matter what, right? So if I buy it and it's in great condition, I still wash it. I have to tell you, my husband absolutely does not want me to bring any more of these vintage quilts into our home. Um, Not because he's against my owning them or collecting them. It is it to him he's kind of grossed out by him. He's really not a fan of how kind of grungy and nasty they are. And as a matter of fact, he has a lovely term for them, and he calls them pea blankets. Pea blankets. And I keep telling him they're not blankets, they're quilts. He does not care. He doesn't care what is called what. The pea blanket is the name that he calls them. And so yesterday we came across two specific blankets quilts that I wanted to take home. He was like, nope, no more pea blankets. One of them was very heavily stained, but in looking at the results from Rhonda's work, I would think you could get one of those quilts, like one of these um that she has, like, look at how beautiful and white she's able to get these linens using her process. So if you have a quilt like this that looks pretty bad, yep, Charlie would call this a pea quilt, and he would be like, nope, it's not coming home with us. Because to him, it's gross. And I see something that can be rescued. I see something that I want to rescue. I see somebody's handwork that they worked very hard at. Those are the things that mean a lot to me, and that's why I would want to save them. So I hope you look at this the same way. I hope that you have something maybe that has been tucked away that you will want to try to save now that you have a little more information. I am going to drop Rhonda's information into the chat. It'll be there in the comments so that you can click on her link and get more information about how to clean your own linens. And here's her biggest caveat, and I think this is absolutely true. You kind of want to your your results may not be perfect, and your results can absolutely mean the removal of color of a block entirely. I have seen it happen. I've seen it happen with me. I've seen it happen with her. um just entire sections of quilts like blanking out. And the reason is, fibers hold all kinds of secrets. We don't know what chemicals were used at the time that they did all of this. So you're gonna have some you know some results that vary. You're going to have some stains that'll just never ever ever come out. You're going to have you know certain things happen to quilts that you're just not there's no there's no perfect recipe, okay? And there is some migration of dye that could still happen. None of these are perfect. So I just want you to understand that, Rhonda does say this in her entire uh blog post about this, but I just want you to understand that too. Like, if you have something truly precious, you probably don't want to take that chance with your cleaning methods. Okay, so just keep that in mind. But other than that, my friends, I hope you've enjoyed, and I will absolutely be back next week on Tuesday with more, with the results from this experiment. So I know you're going to want to come back next week and check that out. Don't forget, our smocking book is available. Ooh, there it goes. Over on our website, it's shop.muffin.com. That is in stock right now. And also, our advent calendar is also in stock right now. Get it before it's gone. I am Cheryl Muffin Whited. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Come back next Tuesday. And I will see all of you on Friday night. If you get a chance, come by. I'm up in Sewing Emporium on Friday night. Otherwise, I will see all of you next week. Take care. See you on the other side. Bye-bye.